Action Staffing Group fills a variety of job orders every day. Those job orders could involve work in a warehouse. They could also involve work out on the road. And speaking of the road, one of the most sought-after classifications from us is commercial drivers. Now, these are drivers that operate large trailers, the so-called 18-wheelers, or drivers that operate smaller box or straight trucks. Now, in these cases, you're talking about the difference between a Class A license or a Class B. And we work with both, and we have customers that work with both. Now, in terms of applying to be a driver with Action Staffing Group, there is a complete qualification process that you must go through. It begins with coming in and answering certain questions on the application. We will begin to do what's called a driver qualification or DQ file on you. And in that particular case, we will take a look at your background, your driving record. You will go for a drug test. We'll make sure you have an up-to-date medical card and make sure that your license, of course, is in good standing. After completing that, we'll look to see where you've worked before, how much experience you have, and whether or not you've had any tickets or any accidents. Once all of that process has been completed, we will submit the application to one of our clients, and they will call you in for an interview and then give you a road test. And if all that goes well and you pass your road test, then you can start working with that client as an Action driver. And keep in mind, those road tests normally will involve some local driving, but most importantly, being able to back up and move a truck in and out of a delivering facility or port or bay, if you will. All these things have to be done successfully in order for you to start driving with that company. Then there are regulations that we all follow with regard to DOT policy, such as how many hours you're allowed to drive in one particular period before you must take a break or stop for the entire day. All of that will be explained to you by your Action recruiter that's involved in your particular application. Now, let's talk about some of the safety aspects of driving and what we are looking to cover in getting you prepared to go out on the road. Number one, we want to distinguish whether you're going to be working in a no-touch or touch freight situation. In a touch freight situation, you're basically a route driver, and you see these people delivering all day long, whether it be Coca-Cola, bakery products. They're out on a specialized route visiting customers during the day. The goal of your operation with the client company is to be able to get around, complete all your deliveries efficiently, successfully, and treat the customers, the client customers, as if you were working for the client. That begins with professional dress, good attitude, friendly demeanor, and obviously looking to work efficiently to get the job done. And obviously, when you're on the client company's ground, you want to pay attention to respecting that property and making sure you work safely so that you don't cause any accidents with your vehicle or anybody that's in your way. That's a route driver. In a no-touch freight situation, you might be delivering product to a customer who will take the responsibility to offboard all of the merchandise or cargo that you're carrying, and you don't move any of it. It's moved for you. That's called no touch. When you're applying with us, it's very important to tell the Action recruiting staff if you have a preference, touch freight, no touch freight. Very, very important. Now, speaking of drivers, Eric, I'm sure you've had your experience in the category.
Yes.
What can you share with us about your experience with drivers and driver safety?
Yes, well, one of the leading causes of fatalities in the workplace is driving, and there's a good reason why, because a big truck can be dangerous if not handled in a safe manner. One of the leading causes of accidents while driving is distracted driving, and that, as you've heard many a time, is do not make a cell phone call or text while driving. It's not only dangerous, it's illegal. Always pull over. If you have to make a call or you have to text something, always pull over. And the other thing I remember, as Mark had mentioned before, no earbuds while driving.
You know, the other thing that comes to mind as I'm listening to you talk about being aware and looking all around you, every once in a while you'll see something in the newspaper or you'll see something on TV where a tractor-trailer driver went on a roadway that was not designed for trucks. And all of a sudden, the top of the truck gets sliced off, almost like a tin can. Every couple of months I see one of these. So very, very important for the drivers that are watching this video. Know the roads that you are going onto. Be very aware at the entrance ramp. Is commercial traffic, thereby trucks, are they allowed on this road or are they forbidden from being on this road? Some of our operators will end up driving through New York into Long Island. There are several parkways on Long Island that are not permissible or designed for trucks, where the overpass might be just 8.5 feet off the ground. And guess what? If you get caught going under that overpass, you're going to come out with half a truck. I've seen it happen time and time again. And while that truck is being damaged, you could also get hurt. So be aware of your surroundings and be aware of where you're driving at all times. As Eric so rightly put it, make sure that you've got attention on your driving and that you're not distracted by anything whatsoever. It's also very, very important when you're out driving to keep in touch with the home office, the client office. No doubt you'll have phone numbers that you can call. You'll be tracking information on radio devices possibly, as far as when you're completing your stops. They use different types of technology. Some use something called PeopleNet. So you want to make sure that you're keeping in touch with the home office. And the rule of thumb, folks, is even though you're an Action employee, temporary associate, be of the mindset that you're working directly for that client company. Whatever that client company's name is, make believe you work for that company for the day and guide your actions accordingly so that you represent yourself professional and really you're following the same guidelines as any of the direct employees would. Because if your ultimate goal is to someday work for that company or a company like it, the best way to make that happen is tied to your performance. Very, very important aspect of your workday.
Another thing I'd like to say too is being a staffing agency and that you may get different assignments on different days and maybe driving different types of trucks. So one thing you should do is make sure you do a pre-inspection and a post-inspection of your truck. And as Mark pointed out, make sure you know the height of your truck. So if you're going under an overpass, that you have enough clearance for that truck to get through. The other thing too is important with the pre-inspection and post-inspection. You're not the only person driving that truck, so you don't want to be the one that's blamed for the damage on it if there was some damage on that truck. So to protect yourself, make sure you do inspect that truck after each day's use, inspect it before each day's use for damage, and make sure you report that damage.
That's a great point. You should always do a safety inspection before you leave, making sure that that truck is safe to operate. There's not a problem with a tire, there's not a problem with the braking system. Very, very important.